Good morning. Arno is back on the wall this morning. So before we start into conversation, I just want to tell each and every one of you, thanks in advance. Continue to follow, share, and like. Tune in. Don't forget to leave all the beautiful comments. Please. Right. As we are here on the wall with Arno cracking his bottled water, that means the conversation might be steamy. So, Arno, today on this beautiful wall that you are sitting here drinking your bottle of water.
Refresh.
You know, as time is about us, as time is on our time of time. The word time is such a it's so much things you can use the word time for, you understand? What time you come in here? What time the life supposed to start? What time you going for lunch? What time you going for dinner? Since I using the word time plenty within this little space of time, again using time, like you know, time get really comfortable. What you thinking? Where's your feedback on time, my brother?
Time. Very, 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 very interesting. Time. What time is it? It's time for Arno on the wall.
Correct!
That's the time.
So on this beautiful morning, I think we should have the conversation about time. You know, people that take time for joke, take time, that time is something that you can always get back. For some reason, I don't know why they just feel that time is freeze just for them alone on particular days and time when they know they need to do something. And let's vibrate on time. So the floor is on Arno. I am leaving Arno on the wall to do
Time.
Thank you.
Let me have a drink of my non-advertised water. No free marketing is being done here.
Oh, wow.
Time. What actually is time? What is time? Where is time? Who is time? Which time? Why time? Is it time the seasoning or herb are we speaking about? Or is it time that goes throughout our days? Time, as we once was told, is something that have been, time like an ever running or rolling stream. It continues. And time is something that we cannot exist without. Where there isn't any time, there isn't no existence. There's no existence. Because one cannot exist without time. What am I saying, or what do I mean? In time, something was invented called a clock or a watch. Right? And this is what they used to measure, or what they would use to bracket time, or to say they can have control over time. But time is far wide surpass a hand starting from 12 and ending back at 12. Time it surpasses that. Yeah, a clock was invented to somewhat to try or to attempt to keep us to be moving in time or during time. So you'll say, well, hey, what time this life here supposed to start? Boy, this life supposed to start 9:30. So we have a time, something that marking that time to give us a form of identification to identify what is time. But it so happens that time is wider than that, and nobody have that, where this mechanism was invented, have the most accurate time. Because if you walk down the road and you check 10 people who have time, it's either they a second off, a minute off, some might be hours off. There are some countries that adjust time. They carry time an hour back, and they carry time an hour front. And they use this system called clock to measure or to quantum what time is. But the truth of the matter is, time cannot be measured. Right? It's something that it cannot be measured just by using a clock. It is far more challenging than that. Right. It is far more challenging than that. So, time, it is wider than just using a clock to measure, to tell you, hey, it's 1:30, it's 3 o'clock, it's 4 o'clock. The whole aspect of time is bigger than that. When you're talking about time, we're talking about things like past tense, the present tense, and the futuristic tense. Right? Past, the present, and the future. That is the true measurement of time. And time is something that goes nowhere. Time, it's so mystical, that we don't even understand, we don't even take time, we don't even take time to understand time. Because 1 minute you will have something to do and you will have all the time in the world. And as time process and you're doing, all of a sudden you realize now, hey, yeah, I will be in time if I do this right and set up this. And then you realize, oh my gosh, I'm running out of time. What happened to the time that I tell myself I had all the time? So that being said, so you find yourself trying to hustle up and trying to cut all kind of corners just to get back in the right balance or get back in the right timing of your appointed schedule. Sometimes the way how we operate, time is long past and gone, and we end up being late or reaching late or doing something late. But time, and so you can say, gosh, time gone, but time goes nowhere. Time remains constant. It remains the same. The past will always be the past. Don't care what happened. The past cannot change. The present will always be the present. And the future will always be the future. But what happens is like this. We move through the space of time. It's like being in an elevator and time becomes the building. And you in the elevator and time becomes the building, where the ground floor will be the past, the mid floor will be the present, and the top floor would be the future. And all we do, we just, like an elevator, we just go up and down through time. But time remains constant. Right? So we would start to do things, or we should start to do things to catch time. Right? Because, you know, as I'm saying to you, time is something that it remains the same. You know, and this is the misunderstanding that we have. Time goes nowhere. It's just we move through the process of time. You know, we continue going through the process of time. You know, but time just remains as is. For even, you know, this statement with time, it could be a little kind of controversial at some extent, because we haven't understand the full study of time. You know, physicians will tell you about time, and they will more interpret time, you know, that is something that it cannot be measured. It's bigger than, you know, it's bigger than us. You know, and so that being said, in the spiritual aspect where we speak about time, you know, it beholds me to say that time is one of the onlyest manifestation of God. Right? What do I mean? But we mean time is the manifestation of God. It is. Because when we look at it in a more open point of view, yes, we would say that God, man, manifesting God, right? So the things that we do, we will manifest the works of God, and we'll show the works of God. But God, He is the manifestation of time. His manifestation is time, right? Hence the reason why they will tell you things like they will tell you things like nothing happens before its time. You know, time will catch up with you. You know, then sometimes some people would say, they would move the term time, and they would say, boy, nothing happens without God. You know, sometimes you'll have a saying telling you, time heals all wounds. You know, time make all things right. You know, and then you'll hear people saying, God will make everything right. God will heal this. God will do this, you know. Sometimes when I hear they say, you know, if those who goes through the Bible, and they hear to have a part of the Bible that declares, wait on the Lord and be of good courage. You know, so when I hear the term wait, all of that is a metaphorical term that have been used to represent time, to wait. You know, sometimes they will tell you, you know, do what you have to do, because time waits on no one. Don't make nothing an excuse if you have something to do. Especially, you know, you hear people under the spiritual umbrella say if you have something to do for God, they better do it, because time waits on no one. You know, which is the same thing, you know, God waits on no man. Right? You know, those people who venturing under the non-believers of God, atheists and all these people like that, they, you know, they want proof. Scientists, they want proof, because they wish to understand what is, you know, what is God and what evidence God, and how we know there is God and thing. But God, since God is the manifestation of time, you know, that is all the proof that you need, because time is something that happens continuously. Right? When you look at the hence the reason why they will tell us that, you know, in the beginning, for those who read, you know, in the beginning, that is time. They will tell you, He is the first and he is the last. You know, the Alpha and the Omega, the head and the bottom. So, you know, he's the first and the last. All of that is time. You know, so it's a manifestation. Right? Nobody now you will find you could pay for anything on this face of the street. You could pay for health. Once you have the money and the finance, you can pay for the best sort of health. You know, buy proper food, see the best doctors, nurses, nursing home. You can pay for this. You can pay for, they have oxygen in canisters and things that they sell and things for those who are asthma and things. You can pay for that. All eyes under health. You can pay for houses. You can pay for a position. You can pay for anything you can pay for. But the only thing that we cannot pay for is time. You know? And that is when they will tell you, you know, they say for those who believe or read the Bible, they will talk about nobody knows the time when God is going to make his appearance, or nobody knows the time and the hour, or the day or the hour when his appearance would be made. You know, because it's so mystical and nobody knows, because nobody seems to understand. You know, because the true manifestation of God is time. Now, time, what happens with time, even way back then in our ancestral days, you know, when I say ancestral, I ain't talking about slavery. I'm not speaking about when our foreparents came to the Caribbean or the western part of the world or wherever part of the world and was used as slave. I'm talking about way before that. You know, way back in those time with the Egyptians and all these kind of things, you know. They understand the principle and the power of time. Hence the reason why they would set up things and they would build things, and that hence the reason why they built the pyramid in specific measurements. They built the pyramid in a specific line or a specific order, because they understand the whole concept of time, that at a particular time, that is why certain towers and things were built, you know, because within a specific time, and once everything aligns with this time, you know, something miraculous is going to happen. So in other words, once everything line up with God, something miraculous is about to happen, right? So what we'll find happen is that it's not that they had clocks or watches to say, hey, it's 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. You know, this is where the sun, that is why they worship the sun, and that is when some people they worship the moon, you know, because it align with time, seasons align with time, you know, the winter, the summer, the spring, the fall or autumn, all these things align with time. So, you know, hence the reason why when you meet an aged man who filled with wisdom and understanding, he's never a rush. You know, and everything he move and the way how he operate, it always in time to what's going on. To you and I, oh gosh, he moving very slow, he moving this, and he's very, or she, they are very calm in their operation because they understand time, right? So the time, what happens with these, you know, these Egyptian and these people who understand this physics part of life, you know, is not trying to beat time or is not trying to outrun time, but is being prepared or organized thing in that space. So whenever that time reach, they're going to get a particular result. So they will set up the business and they will set it up in a space or in a place. So when the time do reaches, you know, the energy or the vibration would be at its strongest. Right? Hence the reason why you would see I have a normal calendar or almanac, you know, and then the farmers, they have their farmers almanac. So when you look at it, you know, you'll be seeing two different types of information. You know, so because the farmer almanac, they deal with time on a wider prospect or aspect, they would tell you, well, around this time, right, you need to do this sort of preparation, or you can do this planting, or you can do this reaping, you know. So they would set you up now to work within a specific time. So in working with this specific time, you'll find therefore now the results of their fruits, or even if they have animals and they're breeding, you will find the results with this would be more a better production, because they are now working with time, within the correct time. So, you know, and this is it, and this is what we miss. We need to create that space, so whenever that time comes, everything is going to fall into place, right? Hence the reason why we say nothing happens before it times. In other words, nothing happens before God. You know, time is the master of all. God is the master of all. You know, so one of the true manifestation of God is time, right? Because even in the creation of the earth, you know, for Bible readers and things, when it tells us that, you know, He take how many days, right? And then if you go down to do serious study, and you realize it's not really 7 days, because those who have been enlightened, they would know a day for Him is like 1,000 years unto us, you know, which is time. You know, so nothing happens without time, right? So therefore, it behoves me to say nothing happens without God. And so therefore, you'll be set up, or you'll be directed, or you'll be instructed to do something in a particular way. But then you have to wait on that particular time for that manifestation to be at the greatest peak, right? Even before, you know, some of our ancestors, they would when a lady becomes pregnant, and from the time they find out when this lady becomes pregnant, they start to count the moon, right? Because God had created all these things and put these things in place to give us an idea or understanding of the way how time actually works, and to allow us to prepare ourselves to catch that right time. So you would find our grandparents, great-grandparents, some of us who are young will be our great-great-great-grandparents, our great-great-grandparents, our grandparents. They would, when they find out that, hey, my daughter, whoever is pregnant, they will see they start to check the moon, right? Because the moon, therefore, is placed there and it will help them, to guide them to find the correct time. And you could bet your bottom dollar when they say is on that time, it may not be this precise or specific date, but the child coming around that time. So it gives you that moment at that time to prepare yourself and to get everything prepared, that space. So when that time comes, the delivery would be intact. Now in the modern times, you know, we have technologies that would would do these things and would measure and all these kind of things. And plenty times these technologies does be off. You know, it does not be inaccurate. I mean, it does not be accurate. It does be inaccurate. You know, and sometimes when they might tell you your 9 months is now, sometimes it's the next month. You know, because according to the watch, the universal watch that is out there, which is the moon, according to how the moon fall and the counting of the moon, one would realize, hey, the time is not now. Right? Even when death is about us to step in, you know, they say nobody knows, because that time it's so sensitive. But it's not that nobody knows that time, because when somebody, unless it's a sudden death, but once a person who probably alien or reach of age, he or she in that space that he or she is, they would know that, you know what, my time is very nigh. They would know, well, you know, this is my time. Hence why you would find now they would, at that time, the age, they would come, they would ask for a glass of water, you know, and they would take the last sip of water before, as we would say, they give up the ghost, as the saying goes, you know, but in my time, before they transcend to another, sometimes they might send you out of the room because they don't want you to bear witness of that transition, you know. But it's at that very moment they would know, that very moment where, you know, because God, as we say, God, He gives life, and you know, He gives death, and nobody can precisely know until that very close period when such is going to be. Nobody knows when his entrance for a newborn baby is, only when the time is right, when that birth give place, you know. So in other words, it's only when God say it is right, then that birth is going to take place. It's only when, you know, God say, you know what, it's time. That manifestation is time, and He says it's time, is where, you know, death or transition takes place. At half times there are doctors would pronounce patients, hey, you have a week, you have 2 weeks, you have 6 months, you have plenty to live, you know, and they pronounce a particular time, and they just guesstimating a time, you know, from apparently might be a little 1 or 2 experience, they might just give a time. But when the true manifestation of time comes, it's only then one would know, because it happens. It go into action. You know, so time is a wide aspect. So once we start to understand the importance of time, so it's not much about being there for 10, you know, or late. You would find out, that being said, you would find out if somebody know they're supposed to move within a particular period, you know, they will start to set up things for that space. So when they put things in order and in gear and in place for that space, whenever that period reaches, you will find is an easy transition from one stage to the next, for them to move or for them to be within time, for them to be. But it's a whole preparation thing. And so if we don't understand the real importance of time, and not just 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 1:30, 1:15, and we go into the depths of time, we understand that time is even bigger, and it's something that cannot be measured, you know. So that excuse me, so that being said, so when we start to talk about time, we're talking about, one of the great manifestations of God, because He is the one who governs time. Yes, people would say, we mean that the manifestation of God. So what are we? God and man, as we were told, God and man makes manifest. What does that mean is the things that we do, we manifest God in His own particular way. Right? So we would manifest God. But so in that stage, God, therefore, at that times we would manifest, or we would, if it's not God, we may, let me say, we're doing role playing, and we will act out a role of a cup. So, we will be in that form of manifestation as a cup, and so this is where God is with time. Where time happens, this is where His manifestation takes place, right? Hence the reason nothing happens before God, or nothing happens before time, right? And time is something that is everywhere, and is the only thing that cannot be bought. And correct, Safi, you would find out, you meet somebody and they would be like, of course, boy, I ain't got no time today now. I ain't have no time, boy, I run out of time. And it's like, but you had 24 hours and I had 24 hours. What do you mean, but you ain't have no time and you run out of time? And that's simply because we haven't grasped the understanding that in time, there's a space, and within that space, we have to work. And once we put things in place to accompany us while we're in that space, we always find ourselves out of time. We always find ourselves running up to time. But it would end up it always end up in a way of find, oh gosh, or you always late, you always this, you always that. And it's simply because you haven't prepared yourself or ourselves to operate in this particular space. That we would get the best effect or result in whatever we set out to do. So when you find now we start to operate in that time or in that space, we start to operate in the laws or within the manifestation of God, then one would always be in the right place at the right time. So that's why you go hear somebody saying, boy, so I was at the right place at the right time. And that is because one has found himself in this preparation and this he prepare himself to be in this space. And because he prepared his or herself to be in this space, it allows him to work within time. And he becomes even conscious of time. So when one finds himself working in time and operating in time, he will always be in the right place at the right time. Greetings to you. Kwasi. Greetings. So time is something that because we lack the understanding of time, we think time is just only based on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, or whatever it is, but is really wider than that. Time cannot be measured just by that. So there are certain things that, as I said, certain climates and certain the moon and the sun that our ancestors and them would have looked at, and they would have watched, and they would have understand, hey, we are within this particular time, or this time is approaching us. So this is the best time that we should plant sorrel. This is the best time we should plant corn. You know, so within that time, that manifestation, when it comes, it's always the right time. You know, so timing, it's so important to us. And we need to understand that we only move through time. You know, as the saying goes, you know, time waits on no one. And that's facts. You know, it's not that it waits on anyone. Time do what it does all the time. Right? You know, God waits on no man. Right? No man is bigger and greater than time. Yeah? Time is something that from the beginning, we were told from the beginning to the very end is time. The only thing that can be and would be destroyed, if it's to be destroyed or stopped in parallel with God, would be time. You could stop birds, you could stop singing, you know, but time, if there is no time, there is no creation. If there is no time, there is no life, because everything have a life expectancy, right? So if there is no time, there is no God. And once a person does not respect time and thing, you know, he comes across extremely disrespectful, because he does not show, or he does not have any sort of respect for his brother or for his sister, because he doesn't care what time, you know, they are operating in. You know, so he comes off to be extremely disrespectful. You know, so we must understand the importance of time and why time have been so important. Is something that we never really take time to study, because we think time is always there. You know, but nobody knows the time when times end. Only God. You know, to you, Madeleine Dufault, you know, greetings to you. Plenty love. Thanks for your support and thing. You know, I'm glad to see Kwasi on and gave me some viewing. Enough love and strength for that. I appreciate that and thing. You know, so and this is the whole thing where time is concerned. You know, you would see that a person who don't respect and no respect for that manifestation at time, you know, tends to be very selfish and you know, don't have really no care anyway, because he or she is not, you know, been affected by such. You know, so once a person who pay respect and understand the importance of time is a person who now start to understand the manifestation of God. You know, and once you can understand the manifestation of time and the manifestation of God, you now start to understand the manifestation of life. Right? So once, if you're trying to bracket time as 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, you know, we will always end up out of time. We will always end up not having enough time to spend with our loved ones. We're not having enough time to acknowledge God. We'll never have enough time, because we just see time as 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. You know, we're not seeing time as a building that it goes through, to and through. You know, now something could be moving super duper fast, and the opposite could be moving super duper slow. And these things could both, as fast as one moving and as slow as another moving, they can still collide. You know, but the timing must be on par. Right? So time is even bigger than we just think it is. You know, when we're talking about time, we're talking about the true manifestation of God. Because God, nothing happens before time, or nothing happens without the permission of God. You know? So we were told, or some of us we were taught, that, you know, that God, He was there in the beginning, and it's He who created the whole universe, and He who created the time. So, you know, as long as there is time, the existence of God will always be. You know, so time will always continue. And hence why God will always be remembered, because He was in the time of past. Right? He will be remembered today because He is in today's time, and He will also be remembered tomorrow. Right? So let me get back to that. So this is, you know, when this is the gift that God has given to us. Because He is the God of the past, and He will be the God of tomorrow, the future. Right? This is what this gift, this is the present He gives to us, His time. Hence the reason why we at any time we were told you could call God. You know, it doesn't matter where you at. You could call God, because we are in His presence. We are in His time. We are in His era. So all we just need to do, understand the works of time, and all we need to do is to put things in place to capture that time. So, you know, sometimes we will pray and we will ask God, or whoever we ordain as our supreme power, for something. And day 1 pass, month 3 pass, year 20 pass, and it didn't come true. And then one day, it just happened. You know? And that happens only because God, that manifestation of time through God, He sees when it is fit to give it to you. He sees that, hey, you know what? This is the time. You know? It's taken so long because one, even though he asks for it, he or she is not fully prepared for this. You know, because this individual, they have not created that space to operate, or find that place to operate in that space at that particular time. So, you know, you'll find that, hey, yeah, the time isn't ready, or God isn't ready. You know, they will tell you that. You know, so sometimes we find it ain't happening and what's going on, you know, it's because we are not ready. We haven't put ourselves in that place and put ourselves in that space to endure the whole beauty, you know, of God. You know, so within time we would find ourselves, hey, I ain't getting through, and look, I pray for this and blah blah blah, and whatever the case may be. But we're not studying. Okay, I've make a petition. Now let me prepare myself. You know, so when this do happen, you know, I can reap the full benefits of it. Right? You know, there are some of us who we ask for things, and whether we pray through divinity, or we ask with mother, with father, or whoever, we ask for something, or we make a bold statement, you know, I wish X, Y, and Z. You know, and sometimes because we are not prepared for such, when it do come, you know, we end up losing it, or we did not, or we could not, or cannot even realize that, hey, you know, I asked for X and look, it happened. But because we were not in that space, or we were not in that place, when that time reached, You know, we just had to let it go, or we lose it, or we didn't even recognize that it happened. You know, if someone will have to draw it to our conscious, hey, you asked for so and so, look, that can come and happen. You know, because we didn't prepare that place and prepare that space. So when God makes his presence felt or open that pathway, we wasn't ready to accept that manifestation. So what happened? We lose it. Sometimes we have it short for a short period, and then it just slowly slips through our hands. Because why? We were not prepared for that time. So, you know, time is a very important thing. And once we start to understand time, we will be in a more better position than we will last. You know, we will be a little more calm. You know, we will be a little more respectful. And we'll be a little more understanding. Because, you know, with time now, and you even when you and your spouse and you and your partner have a little differences, disagreement, one will, you know, because totally heated and thing, nothing could happen, you know. But when you wait until God step in, time, the manifestation time, when you wait until it step in and give it time, you know, and you approach the individual, it's a whole different energy and a whole different vibration. You know, so it's not based on time as in clock time, but it's time, and as time is something or a manifestation that we all need to prepare and wait for when that presence of God or that energy of God, that vibration of God decides to operate. We therefore will reap the greatest benefit. You know, that is why farmers make sure and they check their almanac to make sure that they catch the correct time to put on their crops, or the correct time to mate, or to mate the animals, the livestock, and all these kind of things. And they set up these avenues and they set up these space. So when time reach, you know, production is great. You know, so we need to understand when we talk about time, and with time, you know, because, oh gosh, I couldn't come and think, boy, I had no time today, boy. You know, like if your time just disappear or your time just cut off, and I alone remain with all the time, you know. And that, as I said, that happens because there are times that we don't put things in place, you know. So whenever that time or that energy comes, we are well equipped and we are ready to operate. I'm not speaking about there are some circumstances that something just come up and you know, it changed the whole dynamics of things where time is concerned. You know, speaking about, you know, some of us who just laid back and we underestimate time because we focus on time as 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and there's something more greater than that. There's something more bigger than that. You know, for every purpose there is a preparation, and for every preparation it is for a purpose. So, you know, so when we see time and we start to operate with time, you know, you would find now things always falling in place. You know, for God is the healer. Sometimes they get a scratch on their hand, they get a cut. You know, don't care what you do. Here what the doctors go tell you, whoever tell you, boy, you have to wait on time. There's only time could deal with that now. You know, we do everything we do, but there's only time could heal that. It's only God. It's only the manifestation of God who can really come and mend and heal such wound. You know, so time is a very, very important aspect, and that we understand time not just based on a clock or on our watch, but we see it at a more extensive view. You know, we see it even more dynamic. We see it even as a great manifestation. As I said, it's one of the only manifestations that you can align with God, because God operates under time, right? It was declared for, as I say, for those who read the Bible, you know, there is a certain time it takes to do X, Y, and Z. You know, there are even time that one of the greatest timekeeping mechanism that was ever invented or created is the body. You know, the body, and is one of the greatest time mechanism. Not the manifestation of time, but is the greatest time mechanism. Just how the moon and the sun, you know, is a mechanism that was put in place to give us an idea of the time, so that we could prepare and we could, you know, so that we could prepare and we can get ourselves in order. Nice one, Miss Webb, Teresa, nice one. So, you know, so so once we start to understand time, sometimes, you know, we want something and we will hurry and, you know, you just say, you know, wait. That's why they tell you, wait on the Lord and be of good courage. Wait on the Lord. Wait, you know, take time, because God is in control. And the only person control time is God. We just move through time. We don't control time. We have nothing to do with time. We just move from one stage to the next, like an elevator in a building, just going through time. But when we're talking about time, God, He is the control, that is the manifestation, you know, and it's so simple that we never sit down and really study it. You know, hey, yeah, boy, time is really the manifestation of God, because nothing happens before time, right? Which beholds me to say nothing happens or could ever happen before God. Hence the reason why, you know, wait. Take time and wait. Just wait. Time. Because with God, everything is possible. So with time, everything is possible. You might be going through a funny relationship, or you might be going through problems on work or problems with your family, and somebody will tell you, boy, don't get no horrors. Just now time alone go tell, and everything go over, you know. God alone go tell, and everything, when God started tell, everything is going to be over. So there's a lot to take in, there's a lot to process where time is concerned, and you know, it's just for us to look at time at a whole different perspective, you know. And there is something within time, and that we are being conscious within time, you know. And I think this is the time now that I should have this conversation. In my last live that I did, which was last week Wednesday, you know, there was one who who made a request. You know, in his comments, well, he commented public, so anybody can go back and read it. You know, Anderson Austin. You know, personally I know him as AKA Akido. And you know, he said that, you know, the conversation, it have no essence in it. Let's talk Africa. Right? And you know, according to the late Leroy Callis, other known as the Black Stallion, you know, if my viewers ask for something and they want to talk something, you know, that I must do. You know, according to the great Black Stallion, you know, when his supporters asked him to sing something about smut. So you know, he's a man that his supporters and that he must do. So you know, you say the topic, it lacks substance, and let's talk Africa. And well, okay, so you know, I ain't see a log on today. I know what transpired, but eventually you may listen to this live and you should get it. Let's talk Africa. Now, this is the misconception that plenty of us have. And plenty of us think that Africa is just a country, you know, with other countries in it, a continent. You know, so we have this concept that Africa is a country, is a place, right? And not that we are not correct. Of course, yeah. If you look for Africa, it will tell you a continent, blah 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 blah, wherever location, and wherever the case may be. You know, and it's very sad because what I'm doing here, it have a lot to do with self-awareness, is enlightenment, right? And how can one be conscious about his homeland, as you would put it, and they are not conscious of who or what they are? They don't understand their value. You see, plenty of people under the belief that wearing a dashiki or having a nickname or AKA as an African name, you know, plenty of us feel that it's Africa. In Trinidad, when it's emancipation, we put on the dashiki and probably our sandals and we walk the streets and we sing whatever song we sing, and you know, we under the impression of Africa. But Africa is so more than that, and only we as African people, we don't understand what Africa is. Africa is not just only a continent or a country or Nigeria or Zimbabwe, you know, or South Africa. You know, you and I, we are Africa as well. You know, and we do, or we are the manifestation of Africa. And it's only we as African people, because we don't know ourselves, because we are not conscious of a lot of things that are happening around us, we cannot see ourselves as Africa, right? So we cannot manifest what Africa is, you know, because we see Africa just as a country or a continent. But Africa is more than that. Africa is you and I. When the Caucasian see us, they don't see just black, you know. They see even deeper. They see African. You know, when you see a Chinese, right? You don't see an Asian, you know. You just see a Chinese. If you see an Indian, you don't see a what else? Somewhere Middle East Asia, you know. You don't see these things, you know. You know what you see? You see an Indian. But when you see an African, you don't see Africa, you know. You know, we don't see Africa, you know. We just see every other things. So, you know, so this live and these things that I'm doing here, this enlightenment that I'm having here, or according to Safia, my conversation is, I don't need to come out and talk about Africa, the continent or the country, to talk about Africa, right? Once we become fully aware of who we are, once we become conscious of our manifestation, once we become literate and we become open of what is and what isn't, then we would understand the full manifestation of Africa. Right? But just sitting down and want to talk about, and they say, let's talk Africa. What about Africa you want us to talk? And we don't know that we are Africa. Right? We are not conscious enough to understand that we are Africa. That, we out of our homeland or our motherland is just the manifestation of what Africa is. So if we cannot teach or work with our brothers and our sisters with love and build one another and encourage one another and motivate one another and enlighten one another, then what can we talk about Africa? Because we miss the whole concept and we just look at Africa as a place, right? While it is true that Africa is a place, but all black people, whether you're here curlyish, whether you're here straightish, whether you're here like mine, whether you're here probably like yours, we are the manifestation of Africa, right? And in order to manifest Africa in her greatest and her splendid beauty, we must understand who we are. We must know and be conscious of who we are, right? We must be able to differentiate who we are from the rest. We must be able to pick out things and be conscious. And this is the reason why we have been where we have been today. Because plenty of us cannot and would not accept that we are the manifestation of Africa. Yeah? Why Caucasian fight us so hard? Why other ethnic fight us so hard? And they continue mentally to put things in our head, and they continuously trying to reprogram us because they understand who we are, and we don't know who we are because we only looking at the distraction Africa, right? But how we living amongst our brothers and sisters, that is as African we could be, right? Since we all these mileage away from our motherland, and some of us cannot afford to travel there because they have made it almost impossible for an average man to pick up and to go to Africa. We have to live and manifest Africa. And how can we manifest Africa and live Africa if we don't know who we are? If we don't understand where we are? Right? So by we understanding who we are, understanding where we are, understanding what we are, and understanding how we are, why we are, where we are, and then we then that is wrong, we allow ourselves to let go what they have doctrined us 400 to 500 years through slavery, and we start to be emancipated, not physically, not emancipated via freedom, but emancipated mentally, and becomes conscious of who we are, and live and understand that some of the things that they tell us is to keep us under suppression. If we don't understand these things, we could just take up ourselves and we could go Africa and live Africa and be a robot. We just be programmed you know, and as it is saying, you know, we end up becoming a house slave or a house nigger, as they would use the term, you know, because we haven't educated ourselves. We haven't really take time to become conscious of who we are. We haven't allowed that space. We haven't created that space. So when that manifestation comes, that time comes, you will be able to operate and you'll be able to stand in bold of assurance. You know, and so you want us to talk about Africa, but what do you want? What conversation do you want us to speak about Africa? Right? Because it can be so wide. And Africa is Africa, but if we are not conscious of who we are, then we are like on thinking horses going to battle. Because we don't know. We don't know what we're fighting for. We don't know if we're fighting. We don't know what weapon we have. We don't know. We know nothing. So we cannot arm ourselves to defend ourselves. Right? That is why, you know, some of us, even in the 70s, the 60s and the 70s coming up there, especially in Trinidad and Tobago, when it had the black uprising and thing, you know, some of us, we stopped calling the government name, right? For example, Anderson Austin. We stopped calling, you know, look, it's not Anderson Austin, are going by the name Akido, right? And 40-something years, 50 years, you're still going by that name, and you haven't seen the importance of going in and change your government name to an African name. You know, that is being Africa. Right? There are certain ceremonies that African would do in terms of naming their children. What the Caucasian identifies it as christening. You know, there are plenty other rituals that African do. You know, some of us, we're not doing these things because it is not of God. We ordain it to be demonical, you know, because the Pope or the pastor or the bishop, they haven't ordained it. You know, so we went and we do this Caucasian Christian baptism or whatever we want to call it, you know. So then if we cannot manifest Africa, then what are we doing? What are we doing? If we are not conscious who we are, then what are we doing? You know, now when I'm saying that there are some of us who were not privy to the changing of their name and as something permanent, you know, but they become, after all, they become conscious and they start to operate and they start to do things that shows the manifestation that I am African, you know, and this is very important. We need to understand who we are, right, in order to encourage and to motivate and to teach people and to claim the respect that we truly deserve, right? Because African people, we are the only people who don't see ourselves as Africa. We see ourselves as Americans, Trinidadians, English, Australians, you name it. We see ourselves as Spanish, as everything, but we don't see ourselves as Africa. And because we cannot identify and relate to ourselves as Africa, you know, we are being continuously ill-treated. We are continuously being lied to, you know, and knowing Africa, where Africa located, the size of Africa, how much countries in Africa and all these kind of things, it doesn't make you Africa. All it just make you learn about this country, Africa. You know, so we need to be cognizant of the fact of who we are and understand that because we say the word Africa, it doesn't mean that we are not Africa, right? You don't need to go wrong to tell people, I am a man, or I am a woman. I am a man, or I am a woman. For people to know, I am a father, I am a father, I am a mother, I am a mother. For people to know that you're a father or a mother, or a man or a woman, by your manifestation, one will be able to easily tell who you are. So with that note, that being said, I would like to, give special thanks to my viewers, to my supporters, to all those that who have tuned in for enlightenment, and I hope this topic, pique your interest. Not hope, this topic it should pique your interest. Have an open mind. The floor, I won't say the floor, but I know with this topic, with these two topics that we are having, thank you, Teresa. And it's true, so continue viewing and thing, and I know with this conversation, I know you have something that you want to say or want to ask, and this is the time that you can do so. So by the time I give you a little moment to type, because I know you have something to ask today, right? So I would like to hear what you would like to ask. And you're quite correct, Teresa. Some people they just have these things. They wear this and they wear that, and they just have this appearance, like mascot, to show, well, hey, look, I have one African clothes. Look, I have a name that is an African name. But their manifestation tells you something totally different. And that is because some of us, we are not fully conscious, or we are not aware of who we are and what we are, so we can stand with bold assurance, and reclaim the respect that is due to us. But when God is ready, that level of consciousness to African people will be across the land. And it is across the land, or when I say land, I'm referring to the world, but we have to prepare ourselves. We have to prepare ourselves. We have to prepare that space and that place, so when that presence do come in, it will be most effective from us. So if we are not prepared, how could we be able to deal with situation when the presence of God makes its entrance? So, to all my viewers, I see, I don't know if he's there still, but, Kwasi, well done. Ryan Kwasi, yeah. Well done, for tuning in and thing, Teresa Webb, special thanks. Thanks for giving me that strength and that support. Plenty love here. Madeline Defoe, not forgetting V, other known as Mother Jenny. Special thanks and acknowledgement, You have always been one of my big supporters, and I give you thanks for that, There are plenty that I haven't seen today on the live, I normally would have seen Betty Lou. I don't know what's wrong, but, she is here. Christine, Safia, plenty, thanks a lot for stepping in and viewing and thing, and I appreciate. So, continue to view, continue to share, and continue to like. So if there is any one of you who have anything, and I know that you do, those who are listening, you can, and you wish not to be public, and I can respect that, you can also inbox me privately, and I would see how best I can accommodate you. in whatever case it may be. So, you know, with this being said, thanks very much. Continuous love. And don't forget to like, share, and follow. You know, I have other platforms. I have TikTok. I have YouTube. I have Instagram. So, thank you a lot. And stay tuned. We will be back on the wall next Wednesday, you know, God's willing. Thank you very much. Stay good. Peace. Oh, before I close off, I must give special thanks to my godmother. You know, love you. Thanks for your support. Thanks for your strength. Bless.